In this video, in our introduction into Infraworks, we're going to take a look at inserting stuff and making your model look better. We're going to insert some vegetation, we're going to insert some houses and trees and whatnot. Now, there has been an issue with Infraworks, and I'm not sure why this happens. I've never been able to figure it out. But when you start up your model, all you see is this down below, and it appears as if your model's gone. Now, if we look straight up, so look vertical, and bottom will be down, my model's up above, so just to access it, I can double click on any one of these objects. Now, this is a similar model to the one we were working on in the previous video. However, this is one that I have worked on for a little while now, just to show you the kind of details that we can get. So I have my 2-lane boulevard road here. I got trees on all the sides, I got trees in the center. I inserted a number of different houses, and we'll show you how to insert Infraworks houses, and then we'll go to a website and we'll get some additional houses that have that look different than the ones from Infraworks. We can put some water in, and we saw that in the previous video when we did the model builder. Some street lights, some walking paths, can put fences in. Here's my cul-de-sac, and yeah, I know it looks a little bit odd with the light gray in the middle, but there's a cul-de-sac, and here's a completed knuckle. So that has been done, and I can quickly show you the settings for that too. So there are a couple ways we can insert things into Infraworks. Now, most of these are built into Infraworks, or some of them are built into Infraworks. If you want anything more advanced, any of these playground pieces, parks, and whatnot, you'll have to get them from a different website. But if we go into the eye and draw the little crayon marker, we have buildings. So we can apply different facades to buildings. So if I wanted to change the look of a building, I can't drag and drop, but you can make a building with different facades. The thing we want, the category we want, is under city furniture. So this is where we can insert, say, street lights and street lanterns, manhole covers, bus shelters, garbage cans, and quite a bit of information, quite a bit of objects here that we can insert. They do have some noise barriers and fences and even people that we can put in. So I'm going to just select this person, and I'm going to double click where I want it. And it places, a person into our model here. Now, we can increase the number of people. We can increase the density of our model here. Or if we don't like what we have, we can select them and delete them. So just a click and delete. There we go. So I'm going to go back under city furniture and just keep looking here. We got some planes, we got some boats, helicopters, markers, train pieces, if you want to show a railway, just different markers, construction markers, construction equipment. We got some vegetation, so if we wanted an oval hedge here, we can put in one hedge. Now, that was just double clicking. If you want to put in a whole line of trees, you can click once and sketch where you want the trees to go and create a line of trees. I'm going to hit enter twice, and it's going to place trees along those lines. Now, if you grab this adjust density button, we can add more trees. And once you've gotten rid of that adjust density button, it's a little bit difficult to get back. There we go. And we can go back down to one tree if we want. So we can adjust the density, we can make rows of trees, we can make lines of trees. And you can put vegetation into your model that way. Looking through more city furniture, we do have a lot of bushes, a lot of trees that we can place in, and then some vehicles. Bicycles, you can put cars on. Put a transport truck. And it'll come in, and then you can select it. If we want to rotate it, there's the orange rotate button. If we want to make it bigger, you can use that little slide arrow to make it bigger, or alternatively smaller. And then the gray, green, red, and blue buttons here. So the gray button, this gray square, will move it left, right, up, down, or left, right. The blue button, or the blue arrow, is going to move it up in the air vertically. And these can be sometimes a little hard to click. So the blue arrow will move it straight up. The red arrow will move it back. The blue arrow will move it, or green arrow, side to side. So we can place it basically anywhere we want. And I'm just going to delete that. Okay, I'll delete it later. Another thing under city furniture is they do have some pretty generic houses. And again, if we want to filter it, house, what do they have it listed as? Buildings. They have them 3D model buildings, residential. So they do have a couple buildings here, some 2-story woods, 2-story stuccos. So pretty plain, pretty generic looking buildings. Another thing we can do is if we get one building put in, we don't have to go back to the city furniture. We can Control C, Control V, and up will pop a little white square, and we double click where we want to place this new building. Now this is going to keep the same elevation as this building. So if we look at the bottom, this building on this side is floating, and so is that one. So it does keep the elevations. If we have this up here, it usually doesn't re-snap back to the ground. So just keep that in mind when you're copying and pasting houses, that you may have to just re-snap them back to the ground. Now another place we can get houses from, and you have to be careful with this because you'll end up with some houses that do tend to look like this, where you can see through parts of the roof, which is not necessarily a good thing, but they do come with more detail, is the 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com. So if you navigate just to this website, and we're just going to look for house, and these are user created, so just be careful when you're downloading some of them. And there are quite a few, so try and find ones that do look more realistic. I'm going to download this one here. We'll have to sign in. And now that I've signed in, it looks like the order here is reversed. So I'm just going to download, we'll say this house here. You choose what kind of model you want. I'm going to choose a SketchUp 2019 model. And I'm just going to save it to my desktop and call it house. And then we can import that into Infraworks. So if we click on the little square button here, we go to data sources. We click the little drop down arrow, we can insert a SketchUp. From my desktop, I'm going to select house. And it brings it in, and it's going to take a minute or two here to process because it is a more detailed, complicated model. If we look in some of these houses here, we have closets, we got all the flooring put in, we have all that fancy stuff. Whereas some of these existing Infraworks models are empty on the inside. So there is a little bit more to process for the program. I can right-click configure it. I want this as a building. Now the coordinate system is going to be Canada 833TM. And I want the lower left front. That's where this becomes a little bit of a problem, because these models are in an odd coordinate system, or they're not in a coordinate system, and we're trying to get them into our model. I'm going to use the interactive placing button. And I'm going to double click just somewhere around here, so it gives me an X, a Y, and a Z. And at this moment, I'm not sure of the scale, so we're just going to leave that blank. We have a preview here of what this is going to look like. I'm going to hit close and refresh and see what I'm given. I am given a very, very giant model, and it doesn't even look like a good looking house. However, we can work with that. So if I configure it again, and I do a scale of I meant to do it all to 0.01, and hit close and refresh. Now you notice before I just hit the enter button and it didn't do anything, because hitting enter merely isn't okay, where close and refresh will close and refresh the model. So I just guessed with the 0.01 scale, and in my opinion, doing it through the configure tab and changing it here is a better idea than using these grips, because if we see this purple outline at the bottom, it doesn't update when we use city furniture or models based off the 3D SketchUp website. So use the right click configure and change the scale through here. So utilizing all those tools, and in another video I'll show you how to sketch roads and sketch pathways and put in water boundaries, but that is inserting trees and bushes and city furniture and street lights if you want. There's even street lights that we can place in, manhole covers for your underground utilities if you have them, and making a decent looking model.